everybody, welcome back. Looks like we're taking a deep dive today into how autism and narcissism kind of bump into each other,
Yeah.
especially with this whole thing about stonewalling. I mean, look at this stack of articles and research. We've even got this one piece here called Cheap ABA, Autism and Narcissist Stonewalling.
It's definitely something that can really affect people, you know?
Oh, totally. And you know what really got to me?
What's that?
In one of these articles, it said that autistic people can be more vulnerable to narcissists when they use stonewalling.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like because of how trusting they are and how they see the world, it just makes them a target for this manipulation.
Yeah, that's a really important point. And, to really get why that is, we got to look at why narcissists even stonewalling in the first place. I mean, it's not just about power in like a simple way. Right. It's like they have all this insecurity deep down, so they use stonewalling to feel in control. Almost like they're trying to prove how great they are by controlling everyone else.
So it's like they're shutting everyone else out to try and control their own world.
Exactly. And that's where it gets super tricky for people on the spectrum. Research shows that because autistic people are so fair and just,
Right.
and because it's harder for them to pick up on those subtle social cues, they're even more likely to be affected. They might even start blaming themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Like, what did I do wrong?
Exactly.
Wow. So it's not even just about being ignored, but like this feeling of it being unfair and not even knowing why.
Totally.
So, okay, let's get down to brass tacks and define stonewalling. Because it's not just giving someone the silent treatment, right?
Definitely not.
What does it actually look like?
Yeah, so it's basically a bunch of different behaviors that are meant to shut down any communication and just create that distance.
Okay, so like what are some of the things the articles talk about?
Oh, well, ignoring calls, text messages, that's a big one. You basically don't exist to them anymore.
It's like trying to call a ghost or something.
Yeah, and refusing to even have a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
So you try to talk to them, try to reason with them.
Right.
And it's like talking to a brick wall. They just won't answer.
I bet that's so frustrating.
Oh, for sure. Especially for someone who's just trying to make sense of things logically.
Absolutely.
And then there's the classic cold shoulder. Those icy stares, the dismissive body language.
Yeah.
It's all part of the package deal.
Yikes. So ignoring refusing to talk and giving the cold shoulder, what else?
Oh, and pretending to be busy.
Oh, yeah.
Like suddenly they've got amnesia about plans and commitments.
Right.
All to avoid actually connecting with you.
It's almost like they're playing a part so they don't have to be responsible and they can keep you at a distance.
Exactly. And for someone on the spectrum, who might already have a tough time with social stuff, this can be really confusing and hurtful.
That makes sense. You're left wondering if you did something wrong, trying to fix a problem that isn't even there.
Yeah. And because autistic people are often so loyal and want to please others,
right,
they might go above and beyond to make things okay again.
It's like their own empathy is being used against them.
Sadly, that happens a lot.
Yeah. This is all pretty heavy stuff. So knowing how narcissists do this and why autistic people are more vulnerable to it, where do we go from here? What can someone actually do about it?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what we're going to dig into in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to talk about what happens when someone gets stonewalled and also some ways to spot the signs and protect yourself.
Awesome. I can't wait. All right, so we've talked about how this whole narcissistic stonewalling thing works and why it can be extra tough for autistic people.
Right.
But let's get real. What can someone actually do if they're stuck in this situation?
Well, I think the first thing is understanding just how much damage it can do.
Yeah.
It's not just about feeling ignored. It's like real emotional and psychological harm.
Yeah. Yeah. The sources were really serious about that. They're talking about how traumatic this can be.
Yeah.
Especially for someone on the spectrum who's maybe already dealing with anxiety and sensory overload.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. For anyone being ignored or given the cold shoulder, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But for someone with sensory sensitivities, it's like it's amplified,
Yeah. Their senses are already heightened, and then bam, this wall of silence.
Right. And because they process things differently, information, emotions, autistic people might overthink every little interaction.
Yeah.
And start blaming themselves for something that's not even their fault.
It's that whole what did I do wrong thing.
Totally. And that's how all those negative thoughts start to creep in, leading to self-doubt anxiety.
Oh, wow.
And over time, that can really chip away their confidence.
Right.
And make it even harder to trust their own gut.
So it's not even just the immediate hurt, but like the long-term effects on their self-esteem and their ability to have healthy relationships.
Exactly. If you're always told that your needs and feelings don't matter,
Right.
it's going to be hard to open up to people and let yourself be vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah, like you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Mm-hmm.
So what did the article say about breaking free from this cycle?
Well, they talked a lot about awareness,
Okay.
like realizing that it's not about you, it's about the narcissists need to be in control,
Mm-hmm.
which usually comes from their own insecurities.
So acknowledging the problem and remembering it's not your fault.
Right.
What's next?
Once you understand that, you can start to focus on what you can control,
Okay.
your own actions, your own responses.
That sounds empowering, but I bet it's hard to actually do.
It is. It takes a lot of strength and courage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with someone who's trying to keep you off balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you start to take back control?
Yeah. How do you do that?
One thing is building a strong support system.
Okay.
Surround yourself with people you trust, friends, family, a therapist, people who can give you a different perspective and validate your experience.
That outside view can be so helpful.
Totally. It helps you see things more clearly
Right.
and reminds you that you're not alone. And it can also help you fight those negative thoughts
Uh-huh.
and start to rebuild your self-esteem.
Yeah.
You know, remember, you deserve respect and kindness.
Absolutely.
You deserve to be treated with dignity.
The articles also talked about self-care, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Taking care of your mental and emotional well-being is so important,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're dealing with this kind of manipulation. It's like putting on your own oxygen mask first
I like that.
before helping others.
So what kind of self-care did they recommend?
Anything that nourishes you and helps you recharge,
Okay.
meditation, spending time in nature, listening to music hobbies you enjoy.
Yeah.
Whatever brings you joy and helps you feel grounded.
It's about finding those things that help you reconnect with yourself
Right.
and find some peace amidst the chaos. The sources also had a strong message about not trying to please the narcissist.
Oh, yeah, because trying to fix them or give them what they want
Right.
just makes their behavior worse.
It's like feeding a monster that just keeps growing.
Exactly. So
Right.
instead of focusing on what they're doing, you focus on setting boundaries and protecting yourself.
Okay, so you're taking back control.
Right. And that can be a real challenge, especially for autistic people
Yeah.
who are naturally inclined to please others and smooth things over.
Yeah, it's like going against your instincts.
It is, but it's so important for protecting yourself from getting hurt even more.
So we've got recognizing the problem, building a support network, focusing on self-care, and setting boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
What else can someone do to start healing from this?
Well, that's where therapy can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Having that safe space to process your emotions,
Right.
work through the trauma and learn coping mechanisms can make a world of difference.
And there are specific therapies that might be especially helpful for autistic people dealing with this, right?
Absolutely, like cognitive behavioral therapy,
Yeah.
CBT. It can help you identify and challenge those negative thought patterns.
So it's not just talking about your feelings, it's about learning how to manage your anxiety
Right.
and change those unhealthy thoughts.
Exactly. And there's also dialectical behavior therapy, DBT,
Okay.
which focuses on mindfulness, emotional regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness.
Hmm.
Those can be really helpful for building self-awareness and coping skills.
So it's about finding the right therapy for you.
Exactly, because healing isn't a straight line.
Right.
There will be ups and downs, but with time and support, it is possible to move forward
Absolutely.
and create healthier, more fulfilling relationships.
This has been so insightful. I feel like we've covered so much already, but
Yeah.
there's still one more piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
The long-term consequences of this narcissistic stonewalling and how to actually heal.
Right.
Let's dive into that in the final part of our deep dive. Okay, so we've talked about what stonewalling is, how narcissists use it, and why autistic people can be more vulnerable to it. But now I think we need to really understand like the long-term consequences of this.
Yeah.
Because this isn't just a temporary bump in the road, right?
Oh, definitely not. The effects of narcissistic stonewalling can be really long-lasting,
Right.
and they can affect so many different parts of someone's life, especially for those on the autism spectrum.
The sources really emphasized how traumatic this can be. They described it as like an emotional earthquake that can really shake someone's sense of self.
That's a powerful image, and unfortunately, it's true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
This experience can lead to a lot of self-doubt
Uh-huh.
and make it hard to trust your own judgment and instincts.
It's like that little voice in your head that keeps saying, what if it was my fault?
Exactly, even when, logically it wasn't.
Right.
And that self-blame can be really strong for autistic individuals.
Yeah.
Because they often have such a strong sense of justice and fairness,
Yeah.
they might struggle to understand how the narcissist's actions could even happen.
Like it doesn't fit with how they see the world.
Yeah. Right? It challenges their whole understanding of what's right and wrong.
And the sources also talked about the impact this has on relationships.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just the relationship with the narcissist,
Right.
but how this experience can affect other relationships too.
Exactly. After going through something like this, it can be really hard to open up and trust people again. You might always feel like you're on guard, waiting for them to hurt you.
Like you have to put up a shield to protect yourself.
Exactly. And for autistic individuals who may already have some challenges with social interaction,
Right.
this can make things even harder.
It's like pushing them further away from those connections they really need.
Yeah.
So knowing all of this, what can someone do to heal and move on?
Right.
Where do you even start to pick up the pieces?
Well, I think the first step is always acknowledging what happened.
Okay.
Naming it for what it is, understanding that you were targeted and that it wasn't your fault.
That sounds simple, but I bet it takes a lot of courage to actually face those feelings.
It does. And this is where therapy can be so helpful.
Yeah.
It gives you a safe place to process those emotions,
Right.
work through the trauma, and start rebuilding your self-worth.
The sources talked about different types of therapy that might be especially helpful for autistic people, right?
Yes, they mentioned cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT,
Okay.
which can help identify and challenge those negative thought patterns. It gives you practical tools to manage anxiety and change those unhelpful beliefs that can come from this kind of experience.
So it's not just talking about your feelings, but actually learning how to change your thinking.
Exactly. And they also mentioned dialectical behavior therapy, DBT,
Right.
which focuses on mindfulness, emotional regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. These can be really useful for building self-awareness and developing coping skills.
So it's about finding that inner strength to handle tough situations.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that healing takes time. It's a journey, not a destination. There will be good days and bad days.
Right.
But it's crucial to be patient with yourself and celebrate every step forward, no matter how small.
That's so important to remember. Progress isn't always a straight line.
Exactly.
The sources also talked a lot about self-compassion.
Oh, absolutely. They emphasize treating yourself with kindness and understanding, just like you would a good friend.
Right.
It's about silencing that inner critic
Yeah.
and replacing those negative thoughts with positive ones.
It's like being your own best friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Offering yourself that unconditional love and acceptance.
Absolutely. And remembering that you're not alone in this.
Right. There are people out there who understand, who care, and who want to help.
Reaching out to support groups, online communities, even just a trusted friend or family member can make a huge difference.
Sharing your experience with others who get it
Right.
can be so validating and empowering.
It's about finding that community, knowing you're not the only one who's been through this.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to focus on the positive. Rediscovering the things that bring you joy and make you feel alive.
Like what?
Well, it could be anything, hobbies, passions, things that light you up and help you reconnect with yourself.
Okay.
Art, music, nature, or something totally unique to you.
Right.
It's about nurturing those parts of yourself that bring happiness and fulfillment.
It's about remembering who you are beyond the pain of this experience.
Yes, rediscovering your strength, your resilience,
Yeah.
your capacity for love and connection.
You said that perfectly. It's about taking back your story, defining yourself, and moving forward with hope.
Exactly.
This has been such an important conversation.
It has.
And I really hope it's helped anyone who's dealing with the aftermath of narcissistic stonewalling.
I too.
Remember, healing is possible. You are worthy of love, respect, and real connection, and you have the strength to create a better future for yourself. Thanks for diving deep with us today. Until next time, take care.